What's up, everyone? YouTube, Facebook, whatnot. Today is the story time. I'm gonna go into detail of like my past, um, in regards to like when I was younger. But this is gonna be a bit of a dark story because it's more of story in being around the crack house, crack den, whatever you wanna call it, heroin addicts, all of that, right? I never did any drugs. I never did any crack. I never did any heroin. Never smoked a cigarette. And during that time, I've never smoked crack at all, if that makes sense. I would have the odd drink here and there, but I was young at the time. I must have been, what you call it, 15, 16, maybe 14. You know what I mean? And I remember I used to hang around this house, like this small apartment. So what used to happen, I remember being in this crack house. This guy, I don't want to expose his name, but I'm gonna basically say from what an alcoholic used to call him, mcdonut. Now mcdonut was he was a bit of a smoker in regards to the good old white stone. Now how what they used to do, they used to get um like a small vodka bottle. So okay, so this is not a vodka bottle per se, right? This is just a jar full of food supplements, right? But I'm gonna use it as an example. So let's say this is a small vodka bottle. Now what they used to do is they used to burn this bit, like completely burn it. Put gauze there, foil, elastic band, right, to keep it all in place. And then they used to put the crack stone there, like the white stone. Then they used to light it and smoke it from that. And then they used to just get high off of that. But sometimes when I used to be in the house, in the apartment, I just used to just go there because I was young at the time and I thought it was cool. I never smoked it, but I thought it was cool being around in that environment. You know what I mean? Because it was like proper bad sort of thing to do. Um, I had other friends as well, but these sort of people, every now and then I just used to just go and check on them. Do you know what I mean? You used to just go there, see what was happening, see what was up. You had one room full of crack smokers, heroin addicts, but the heroin addicts used to do the heroin in the other room. Now, it was weird. They didn't really have doors. They this place didn't have doors. They used to just put like a bed sheet on top, or they used to have like the tassel thingies. Yeah, I was weird. I think the idea was to just basically keep an eye on things. A lot of the people who was under the influence of crack at the time used to be quite paranoid. The slight crack of a door, or the noise of the door, or something, or a little bit of tapping, you know what I mean, used to just kind of make them very sort of agitated but paranoid. A lot of them used to have a lot of delusional stories or a lot of delusional speech. You would think to yourself, really? Like McDonald used to talk about having money and being like this some sort of fucking celebrity. McDonald was a quite of an interesting kind of guy, but a funny one at that. Always used to be a slick. I like to call him a slick con artist in some sense. Most of these crack users are. Most of them are quite con artists in their own sort of way. But I give him the credit where it's due because at the end of the day, he was successful at doing it. He was able to convince a lot of people of a lot of shit and get away with it outright. McDonagh, at the time, I won't tell location or area wise, but at the time when I was like really young, there was a lot of women that used to come in and out of the place, mate. You know what I mean? Used to see a lot. I was young at the time, so I didn't really sort of understand it. You know what I mean? Didn't understand it, but they used to have those that used come and it would come there, do the heroin stuff. I don't remember one girl in particular. She used to have ginger hair, bit of a head case, man, but always wanted to sort of use sex as a means to get freebies from the drug dealers. And the drug dealers used to give it to her. Now, I like the drug dealer who used to come through. He was a cool guy. Never disrespected me, never mistreated me, never took advantage of me being a younger back in the day. Was always respectful, and to be fair, how he used to do his business, he used to be very sort of low key, but he used to be very, how do I say it? In a way, I feel like he did it. Used to sell drugs as a means just to survive. He was that sort of kind of guy, and he kind of would like, okay, there's your shit, done. You know what I mean, and then leave it at that. He wasn't one of those people where he let the game sort of get to his head. You know what I mean? I think he was just one of those people that needed it to survive at the time. Now, back in the day, we're talking 2004, 2003 times, you didn't have all these weed dealers or these crack dealers or heroin dealers on like every corner or every sort of town per se, like you do now. Now, like a lot of drug dealers have sort of expanded the market because there's so many of them. A lot of them are doing it for to brag and to be, how do I say it, have this sort of showing off mentality, you know. Whereas me personally, most of the time, my own understanding of those that got involved in the drug business did it to survive, man. Couldn't get a job, probably wasn't illegal, and needed an alternative to make money to survive. This was at 2003. Was at a time where you didn't have the fucking electronic tapless card. You didn't have none of that. Everything was cash, you know. And I felt like it was a lot more easier for a lot of these dealers back in the day, and a lot of them was a lot more hardcore. Back in the day, if you was a dealer, you was how can I put this? You were somewhat cool. There was something very sort of mysterious about you. There was something unique about you in some way. Nowadays, it's too played out. Nowadays, it's like an eye, you roll your eyes, have a moment. Oh, you're a dealer. You know what I mean? It's not nothing big anymore like it used to. Back in the day, it was like, wow, where does this guy get his shit from per se? I was exposed to a lot of stuff when I was when I was like a younger, when I was like 13, 14. But I never committed any crime at the time. I looked at it from a perspective of I just wanted to learn and observe of what was going on around me, obtain the street smart, obtain the crafty fuckers that used to be able to get what they want by any means necessary. Do you know what I mean? Just to, you know, there were perks that came with the drug dealing job that this guy used to do. Like, there was one guy, I forgot his name, but he was in the other room. I'll call it a heroin room, right? Because that room was just messed up. Now, basically, this guy used to just go around and he would basically ask you like, "What do you want?" I'll try to steal it and stuff. Yeah, man. He used to go, like at the time I had the PlayStation 2. So at the time of playing the PlayStation 2, I wanted Need for Speed, I wanted Street Fighter, Marvel, these Capcom. Dude would go there and scope certain areas out to go get it. You know, at first I didn't really believe him. I thought, alright, whatever. He's just trying to sweeten me up because I'm like technically a minor in some way, like 13 years old for fuck's sake. I just looked at it, he's like, yeah, get it for me, man, get it for me. I was all like excited and whatnot, get it for me. Um, but this guy used to have bags full of stuff. I think HMV got hit the most by him because he had a lot of HMV stuff. He had bare, man. He had so much, and somehow he managed to be that crafty to go in there and get it. I remember walking into the next room, and yeah, the gingerhead one was doing heroin in her arm, bruv. Fucked up because for those that do heroin, yeah, sometimes you don't really want to disturb them because they're trying to concentrate on where they're putting the needle in. You don't really want to fuck with that shit. And the state of the room that they were doing it in was dirty, man. Was fucked up. The fucking wallpaper's coming off. You got mold growing in the corner of the room. The windows look like they've never had a window cleaner in like since the Victorian times. Do you know what I mean? It's trust me. The fucking what carpet? There's no carpet there. It was just hard floor, man. With the odd sleeping bags, like sort of in certain corners of the room. Do you know what I mean? Because you used to have people who used to just randomly sleep in there. Whether mcdonut was charging them rent, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't know what agreement he had at the time. Bear with me. But this crack den was a bit mad. You used to have people coming in just smelling bad, man. You used to have, they used to go in the toilets and get involved in some madness with one of the dealers. I was a younger, so I used to just sit there and play music or talk to McDonald while there was like three or four people in the room doing the crack smoking, or they'll be in the next room doing the heroin shit. You know what I mean? Who else? Okay, some of the names they're not. I'm not gonna say, but it's actual names because it's like I'm not that sort of person to bait a person's name. I'll just nickname it in a way. Um, Sorry, YouTube. But yeah, I remember one female turning up there one time. Wanted to show off, wanted to be sort of like that girl, if that makes sense. Wanted to be sort of like the highlight of the party per se. And nah, no one was buying it, and McDonald wasn't buying it either. I think what happened was I remember her coming there for the first time. Must have met him on a night out or some madness. I don't fucking know. Like comes there sober, no problem, just kind of like your normal kind of girl. 3 months in, fuck me, bro. She's gone with the head, mate. You know what I mean? Didn't kill herself. Well, I don't know if she's still alive now, but drugs got her, mate. Drugs got her. She ended up fucking. I don't know. Did she get hoed out? Maybe, man. There was times where she used to stay between McDonald's place and I'm gonna call this guy Mr. Lanky. Mr. Lanky and Mr. Lanky's place. Now, Mr. Lanky's place wasn't too far, but Mr. Lanky, his place, I wouldn't say it was the cleanest, but it was one of them ones where it was just empty. Like you could have put a family in that fucking house, and that family would have took care of it. This yard was just a joke. Like it didn't really have anything of any significance in it. One room would just have a settee, sofa, and a random fucking table that just looked completely out of place in the middle of the room. Nothing whatsoever. Fridge, no food, never touching that fridge. Um, Radio, you had one of those old school Toshiba, like beatbox thingies, whatever you want to call it, old school tape deck, all of that sort of stuff. You had a fucking vinyl player that is just broken. I don't know why he kept it, but it just wasn't working whatsoever. It had no life in it, you know. Kitchen just smelt bad. Kitchen never had air freshener ever been sprayed in that bitch. It was madness. Now let me. We had one Asian bird one time. I'm gonna call her Marina. I'm gonna say call her Marina. Now Marina, she was Asian Indian bird, and it was quite surprising because she was quite pretty. To be fair, very pretty female. You know, didn't really get involved in, let's say, any controversial shit. She kind of just wanted to be left alone and smoke crack. When she used to smoke crack, it used to scare me in a way because I actually felt this woman's pain one time because I'm in a way I was like trying to figure her out, like, why are you doing this? Like, you're a pretty decent person. There's no need for you to really go down that sort of road. I remember she mentioned to me in the story one time that her dad used to sell her off to his friends and to cousins, all sorts, mate, all sorts, in the name of culture. Now, this is an Indian female, do you know what I mean? Ends up mentally fucked in the head, goes off with some abusive boyfriend. The abusive boyfriend used to beat her up. Then she ran away. Then she ended up meeting McDonald. Now, I don't know whether she was doing the crack before meeting McDonald or after. I don't know. But I remember one time she had the hots for me. Now, mind you, I think I was must have been 16 at the time, 16, 16, 15, roughly that. I don't know, but I was like, raw. I'm like young out here, young. So I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm gonna have a bit more dignity, not to lose my virginity to a fucking crackhead. You know what I mean? And legit, I didn't. So I was like, not gonna happen, mate. Not gonna happen. But she was another wild one, and I remember the other females who used to smoke crack as well used to get jealous of her because of all the attention all the men used to get. So imagine this shit. I remember being in the McDonald's place. Now, yeah, must have been about six fucking guys there. Six guys, like all sitting around. One sitting on a fucking speaker. One sitting on a ripped up chair. The other one sitting on the floor. Then you got two or three sitting on the bed, sitting on this sort of single bed, and they're all there, they're all chilling. You know what I mean? They're listening to music. Now McDonald used to always play "I'll Be Missing You" by Faith Evans and Notorious B.I.G. But on repeat, on repeat, man, on repeat. Now I feel a bit of regret because it was me that downloaded the song for him on CD, and he just somehow managed to fuck around with the player to make sure it's on repeat. The guy used to just play it over and over and over and over, and I was just thinking to myself, what is up with this guy's fucking taste? What's up with this obsession for I'll be missing? Like, I don't get it. I think I mean, he used to do karaoke nights at his place with the fucking microphone with the wire. The sheet of the wire was like ripped up, but it still worked surprisingly. This, I don't know, he liked to fuck around with electronics and shit. One time he must have hot wired the electric box. You know, the way you do top up your electricity, the fucking thing blew up completely. Just boom! Like literally, because the be by the door, and then everyone's like, what the fuck just happened there? Because somehow he managed to tamper with the thing. I don't know what happened. The thing overheated and just fucking exploded, right, mate? The surge or some madness exploded. So then he had to explain to the council how it blew up. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if he's tampering around with the fucking thing, then the council ain't gonna be happy about that. But I think maybe, I don't know, might have caught up some sort of story. He was drunk. He thought his electric was off. Tried to fuck with it, and it just, I don't know, malfunctioned. But them council people, some of them are experts. They'll be able to figure it out anyway. Like they care now. Anyway, that was like fucking almost 10 years ago. So long time ago. So yeah, yeah. So a lot of the females used to be jealous of Marina. Sorry, my mistake. And so yeah, they used to be super jealous of her, and all the guys used to say to her, "Oh, come around, we'll have a smoke. Oh, I'll get a couple of stones. Oh, I'll get a stone. Oh, I'll get this. I'll get that. I'll get a stone." And then Marina used to be like, "Oh, what are we gonna do for food? Oh, I'll get all that. Like legit, she had all of them on lockdown, mate. On lockdown. I remember being around McDonald's place, and I remember sitting there, and it was just McDonald and Marina. And McDonald didn't mind me, to be fair, because McDonald knew that number one, I didn't smoke. Number two, I had no intentions of smoking. And number three, it was none of my business of who was there or whatever. I was just sort of there just to keep him company anyway. Because he was, to be fair, McDonald, you know, is one of them sort of guys that will lie to try and cheer you up. Will come up with some mad story just to try and cheer you up. That was his style. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're thinking to yourself, is this guy full of shit or is he being for real? I mean, you know what I mean? It's one of them ones. But I was young at the time, so I didn't obviously didn't know any better. Period. I'm telling all these stories because it's like sometimes, like even when I get drunk and I look back at these stories I'm telling, it's so nice to sort of kind of be like, wow, I've had a weird life, man. I had a bit of a fucked up life, like from what I've seen. So yeah, a lot of people used to get pissed. Fights used to break out between guys who wanted Marina's attention, and you're just like, wow. But Marina was the best looking one out of all the crack users, crack smokers, all of that. Do you know what I mean? She was the best looking one out of all of them. To be fair, you know what I mean. And she wasn't all run down. All her teeth was all in one place. Her teeth wasn't all rotted up. She was a bit mentally fucked up when it came down to her with just randomly yelling like what randomly yelling near the shop. So my father used to force me to sell my cunt and all that. Trust me, man. I remember being there at the time when she was shouting and she was just soaking wet. I think someone had thrown water out or something, or she had antagonized the wrong person and just chucked cider or water or one of them to her, man. But she was a cool person, you know what I mean? I don't know what happened to her after that. I know that she moved away. I don't know whether she's still alive. I think she moved back with her abusive boyfriend. I forgot where he was, an Eastern European dude. I never saw him. I heard stories and stuff. I don't know whether she moved back with him or whether she's in peace somewhere now, man. Do you know what I mean? But she was a cool person. Now, Mr. Lanky. Now I saw Mr. Lanky last year. Guy tell me he changed his life around, which I don't know. I mean, I kind of 50-50 on it. I mean, the guy said he told me he working for Royal Mail. And sometimes every like when I see him like out and about, I have a chat to him and I ask him about the old times. I'll ask him about about certain events that happened and how he felt about it. Because he knows that I was at the time around. You know what I mean? Now crack smoke, like what does it really smell like? Like crack smoke, from what I gathered, it smells. The first instance I had, because I remember walking in there one time, fucking hell, man, full of smoke everywhere, man, full of smoke everywhere, you name it. And it smelled like, when you're at a hospital and they put the mask on your fucking mouth, and that's what it kind of smelled like. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of smelled like. But man, there was like the amount of white little crack stones you would have, and they were selling for £20 a pop. And there used to be a phone box just up the road. And I remember there was another woman. I'm not gonna say any name whatsoever because I got respect for her children like that. Um, much respect to her kids. But yeah, I remember one time this woman smashed up the fucking phone box. Oh, like literally went crazy because it ate her pound in it, and that pound usually will go phone boxes to make certain phone calls for pickups and stuff like that. Because a lot of these people just didn't have mobile phones. They would sell the phone for like 20 quid. Oh, I'll keep it on hold. I'll be back like next week or when my gyro comes in. That's how it used to be. Sony Ericsson, fucking Nokia 3310s, you name it. Fucking Motorola Razor, and then some next brand I've never heard of before. Yeah, mate. They used to have it all, mate. They used to have it all, and then from that, they'll make certain phone calls. Okay, boom, you're gonna be here. Blah 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 blah. How long? How long? You know what I mean? They used to go to the shop, rob out the shop. Use certain things to get free wine, flog that on so they can get another crack stone, anything for that crack, mate. And it was quite sad because there's times in the past where I've kind of like, I always wondered to myself, to those that I knew before they hit the hard drugs, man, I just think to myself, wow, I wonder what would happen if you never did that. I'm not blaming Chris. I'm not blaming mcdonut for it. I can't blame him for it because I never saw mcdonut grab someone and put a gun to their fucking head and say smoke crack. You know what I mean? I never saw it. Never saw it. Was he good enough company to a point where people just gravitated towards that lifestyle? Maybe. Do you know what I mean? But I can't never say that he put a gun or a knife to someone's throat and forced them to smoke or anything like this. I had stories that mcdonut was like finding other means of making money by using a lot of these females by other means of extortion. Um, I kind of sort of believe it in a way because there were certain things that I used to see and notice, with certain heroin addicts that was a bit, a bit suspect. Yeah, man. It was a weird vibe, man. Weird time, you know. And I remember one time, you used to be around. I remember one time there used to be this female, young female, and she had chlamydia, mate. Now, the guys in the fucking, the guys, the crack smokers in the room used to kind of say, look, oh, I'd fuck it, I'd definitely do that. But then what used to happen is McDonald used to remind me, she got chlamydia, right? One guy in the next room was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, and like me being young at the time, like I looked at that as like, wow, that's fucking nasty. Like, no, 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 wear a condom or some shit. Like, and me at the time, I was just like, no, fuck that. Do you know what I mean? Fuck that. I said, mate, you should stay away from it. I was trying my best to be the positive sort of influence in that apartment, but sometimes it was like a place like that. It can get a bit addictive, you see, because you just don't know what's gonna happen when if you're one of them people that want to live life on certain elements of surprise or something just off. You know what I mean? Because some of these crack users very unpredictable. You don't know how they're gonna react and how they're gonna turn out. What the fuck is gonna happen? Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of element, and those I don't know how they do it in the United States. Over here, yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird to explain from how what I used to notice being in that apartment. Some of it is very vague, some of it is very blurry. Trying to remember each day because I did go there for quite some time. Like I used to go there maybe once or twice a week, man. Other than that, I'd be playing PlayStation 2, or I'd be playing the old Xbox 360 when it first came out. You know what I mean? And I remember things being a bit blurry. There was other places I used to go to, not crack dens or heroin houses or one like that. But this place was one of them places where you would learn something by going there like every day. You know what I mean? They would find way like one. I remember McDonut. I wouldn't say rob, but he kind of mugged off one guy one time. Oh, give me the money. I'll get you a little bit extra. I'll sort you out a little something, something. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, he would get give it. He would like for example. So let's say you're buying. Let's say you're buying £80 worth of crack. Yeah, dude would sell the idea of, oh, I can get like 40 pounds worth of crap, but you gotta give me like blah 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 blah. So obviously McDonald would take the other amount of money to save it for a rainy day when he can just smoke on his own or smoke with female company and whatnot. They used to love smoking with female company for obvious reasons. But it used to be wild. But obviously, the way you would lure these people in. I mean, sometimes, man, there would always be like a new face every what, uh, every like 2 3 months. I remember one guy. He was a heavy smoker, but he hustled for that money, and I give him the respect where it's due because he never let the drug control him. You know what I mean? And as a guy who's a cab driver, I'm gonna call him Cabby, Mr. Cabby. I'm gonna call him Cabby just to respect him for his name. Cabby used to drive. You'd see his fucking like. I remember walking down to the apartment, and you would see the black cab outside. When you see the black cab outside, you yeah, Cabby's here. You know what I mean? Everyone loved Cabby because Cabby didn't give a fuck. Cabby would spend 300, £500 worth for real on crack alone, mate. And I remember the crack dealer saying to him, "How do you want it? Do you want me to break it up for you in 20 pound stones?" And obviously that would take time. But obviously, if you're gonna have a heavy spender and black cabs back in the day used to make good money. You know what I mean? Good money on a Friday, Saturday. What are you talking about? They would rake that shit in. Different now because of Uber, but they would rake it in back in the day. And I remember the crack dealer used to say to him, "Do you want me to bring it in a block, but like, of how it's weighed, and then you can chop however you want to chop." Now, obviously, McDonald wanted that one because McDonald would love to take over and to chop his own and chop it for him. McDonald would probably put on the idea of, "Oh, you smoke that, and I'll chop it up." McDonald ain't stupid, you know what I mean. McDonald is slick, you know. But I think they opted for the little stones because I never saw big blocks of crack. I only saw the stone worth in McDonald's apartment. So obviously from that it was like rotted, man. What the fuck, you know? And they would all smoke, man. They would all smoke. The lady smokers used to just be like, "Oh, what are you up to next week? Oh, we should meet up and stuff." Mr. Cabby was a different kind of guy, mate. Mr. Cabby would turn around and was, "Nah, meet me here. We'll smoke here." Obviously, McDonald loved that. McDonald was sweet music to his. McDonald used to basically say, get off his back, man. Get off his back. Get off his back. Show some fucking respect." It it was so funny. The arse. I wouldn't say arse licking, but obviously he's trying to sweet him. He's trying to sweet him. So he says, "Just like, get off his back, man. Show some fucking respect. All right." Show some respect, man. Show some respect from where you are as well. If he wants to smoke here in the comfort of this place, he's fucking entitled to. And it was just hilarious. It was hilarious because I was like thinking, he think he's clever. You know what I mean? He thinks he's smart. Because obviously Mr. Cabby is obviously going to want to come back. Where else is Mr. Cabby going to smoke? Now, Mr. Cabby used to go to Lanky's place. Now, Lanky, he didn't care. Lanky didn't care because at the end of the day, Lanky and McDonald used to always be together anyway. Like if they walked through Pride together, people would think that they were a couple. Put it that way. Um, they were good best of buddies. Was there any sexual intercourse? I never saw anything. I know what I mean. I never saw anything, so I can't comment. But people did say that there was some form, like some people had known that there was some suspect funky stuff going on between them two, but I don't know. I never saw it, so I can't comment, mate. Can't comment. But yeah, Mr. Lanky used to bring in Mr. Cabby. Like, if let's say McDonald's place was a bit bait or fucked or whatever, or Cabby didn't want to chill there, he would chill in Lanky's yard. Now, Lanky's yard wasn't the most appealing place to look at. Between both places, Lanky's place was better because it was less dirty, less fucked up, less fucking less crack denned out, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you need to find your alternatives in this. If you just stay in one particular spot all the time, then people always know where to find you. You know what I mean? I remember going there. I remember going to McDonald's place, and people like you'd see a new face there. I remember one guy. He was so quiet, but he was like stone cold, sort of not all there. Like he used to just like you would ask him a question and he would stand there for a good like 5 minutes, blinking rapidly, trying to figure out what the hell you just said, and all you asked him was like, "Well, what you been up to this week?" You know what I mean? So it's them sort of things. Like it was a weird environment, and I remember arguments breaking out. I remember people accusing the next person of stealing their crack. I remember a fucking rusted up blade came out on out someone's pocket one time, threatened to stab McDonald up. And McDonald was just like he stood his own. McDonald stood his own, and kind of was like, "Get the fuck out!" You know what I mean? Fair play to McDonald. The only thing I will say McDonald had that I just could never rate. McDonald had the most ugliest looking back tattoo you'd ever seen in your life. I don't know who did that tattoo. I don't know who did it. McDonald says he was in the army. I don't know, mate, but that was an ugly ass back tattoo. McDonald, if you're watching this, no disrespect, mate, but it was bad, bruv. It is what it is. Now, every time, like, for example, when I would see them, they would always ask, "Do I have any spare change? Do I have this? Do I have that?" Do you know what? At the end of the day, when I look back now and I think to myself, "Oh yeah, that was a weird time, mate. That was a weird era that I was a part of." But I didn't smoke anything. Do you know what I mean? I can honestly say I had good willpower to say no. But the thing is, give McDonald the credit where it's due, and Lanky and Cabby. Do you know what I mean? Because no three of them never asked me, "Yo, you want?" You know what I mean? They never done it, so I can never disrespect them on that. Never disrespect them in that sort of sense. Kind of feels like I've disrespected them in the video, but that's not the point. The point is this is story time. This is the story time of the past, man. I will go into detail on other stories of like different sort sets of people that I used to sort of be around. This is one little bit. There was other people where, so for example, I might make a story of a place that I called it the Weed House. But there's a lot of people that I still have a lot of respect to this day in regards to that. And if I tell a story about the Weed House, it'd be more of a fun story, if anything. It'd be more of a fun, cool, chilled out story. Many more situations happen at the Weed House than in this crack den. This crack den was mostly of junkies, unprotected sex, fucking needles around. The fucking cooker in McDonald's yard wouldn't work, so he used this fucking makeshift one grill, and then used to like his favorite thing was corned beef and rice, but the rice was just always hard. The rice was always hard, bruv. But he used to always make corned beef and rice all the time, all the fucking time. He used when he see me on the street and whatnot. He used to say, "Oh, Tobias, come down for some food." I'm alright, bruv. I get the Morleys, mate. I get the £2 meal, man. 6 chicken wings and chips and a Coca-Cola, mate. I'm good. You know what I mean? But nah, bro. Corned beef and rice. I'm alright, thank you. I'll pass McDonald. So yeah, there's that's like a obviously there was a lot more, but we'll be here all day me telling you crack den stories and stuff. I think that's probably the highlights of that sort of time frame for the past. What I was mostly hanging around in that sort of environment for what 2 years on and off. Do you know what I mean? 2 years on and off. Hey man, you had interesting people down there, and I learned a lot more in regards to the crack drug life. You know what I mean? I learned a lot, mate. I learned a lot in regards to how they concealed it, what they did with it, how they made it, how they smoked it. And even to this day, from when I see crack smokers, I remind them that I know about your lifestyle. Never did it, but I was around it. And they get surprised and they ask, "Who do I know?" and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, most of these crackheads, they just want freebies. They want freebies most of the time. Sometimes they can't always establish it, they can't always get it. And that's a fact. You know what I mean? So what they go and do, they do desperate times for extreme measures, rob people, rip people off. Crackheads always rip people off. Period. Rule number one: you can never trust a junkie. Gus Fring style. You can never trust a drug addict. You know what I mean? Never. So I think the next sort of stories I'm gonna be coming out with on this YouTube is okay, right. I had what, like four sets of friends. So I had the weed house, I had my army people, I had my people that just did pills and MDMA, ketamine, all of that weird shit, bro. But that's a fun story because those people are still sort of my guys to this day. I got respect for them. Training people that got me into MMA and boxing. So I do have a array of stories, man. There are some stories that I can't say or tell because of the amount of respect I have for that person. You know, I might do it one day if I'm ever in Amsterdam and if I'm ever having like a smoke up and I say, look, um, let's do a video together. Let's talk about the story. You know what I mean? Let's talk about a story. Why not? Why not have a story to tell? Fuck it. You know what I mean? Let's have a story to tell, man. Let's make shit important. Let's create moments. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like this is a moment right now. Hopefully, I'm alive till what 20 or 30 odd years, and I can look back at this video if YouTube's still around and be like, you know what? Fun times, mate. Interesting times. During the days when I was like 14, 15, some if not 13. Interesting times, man. And sometimes I say unto people that there are certain lifestyles that I don't know, maybe wasn't meant for certain people. You know what I mean? I don't know about if this lifestyle was meant for me per se, but I feel like I'm a step ahead of even this generation of today because the generation of drugs and the generation of drug dealing and smoking and whatnot has changed, but it's gone more backwards than forwards. Yes, they're legalizing cannabis in other areas of the world. I get it, okay, it's progressing in that aspect of it, but it's not progressing in regards to professionalism, in regards to if you're a dealer or if you're a smoker, like learn how to handle your drugs, learn how to handle your addiction, learn how to go without. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes life a lot more easier and a lot more peaceful. I had people bashing down McDonald's door at times wanting to bust his head, man. I was just a younger at the time. I was like, oh, he's not here. I don't know. I don't know where he go. Where was McDonald? Probably down the road trying to ponce a couple of quid off a packet of cigarettes, probably. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was his style. Whilst he's trying to negotiate and ponce, Lanky's going around shoplifting. That's just the way it is. Lanky looks like one of those sort of pussy type of guys. No disrespect, Lanky, but facts. So that's the end of the story time for today, people. I will release another story. I don't know when. Maybe next month. Maybe I don't know. It depends. Depends how I feel. I feel like today is more of a day of reflection and give it out. These sort of junkies that was around me at the time. They're not bad people per se. You know what I mean? Like I can only comment. I can only cast a judgment based off what I've seen and what I've experienced, man. Do you know what I mean? There's people that's gonna have a different comment and a different opinion to these sort of crack users and drug addicts and whatnot. I'm only basing it off of how they treated me when I was younger. I'm only basing it off of what I was allowed to see and what they let me see. These crack in the crack house, in the crack den, I saw a lot, and I don't even know, like, was it by accident or did they just not care? Do you know what I mean? They was just so in their own high state of mind, they did not even care, mate. You had TVs in there that the back part of the TV was gone. It still worked, but it was gone. But these lot never understood these sort of elements of danger, if that makes sense. They could have got electrocuted, blown up, all sorts of fuckery. You know what I mean? And these sort of things happen, man. One guy got freaked out because they brought a dog into the fucking yard, and McDonald's like, get the fucking dog out of here, because I don't know whether they were when they was high and they're looking, the dog's kind of giving that weird look as if to be like, right, you're fucked up right now, bro. You know what I mean? Or if the crack smoke could have the dog react in a weird way. You know what I mean? And I don't think McDonald wanted to take that risk. You know, so in my final message to all of these lot, if they're all watching, I don't know if McDonald is still alive. I saw him year ago. I saw him about a year ago. I saw him in the Penge area. So if that's his new area, that's his new bird, wherever he's punched off now. It's weird, man, because he McDonough spent 6 years in prison for trying to fucking pimp out one of the crack hoes or crack women, and it failed mad badly because I think one of them stood up for themselves and he must have bust her up or some shit, proper bad, to a point where the hospital staff got involved and could tell that there's drugs and hard crack use in this woman's system, as well as how can I put it, obvious physical abuse. You know what I mean? And when the police check known associates, as well as the nature of the crime, you know what I mean? You know the police are just gonna fire all full cylinders. Look, at the end of the day, the guy's a drug addict in a way. Put him in prison. Is it a benefit? I think at the time it was, because this was before the time where Spice started to blow up in regards to popularity as an alternative drug of means of getting high in prison. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's the end of it. I'm gonna keep. I'll have to end this video now because I'm gonna keep blabbing along forever, man. But yeah, that's the story of the crack house and the junkies. I would say, wow, madness. Every now and then I do get the odd little flashback of sitting in there like, right, dude, this is fucked up. This is fucked up. But yeah, man, embrace your memories, people. Embrace your time. You know, if you have a camera now, why not document crazy stuff? I wish I had a camera back in them days, but I was too fucking poor to sort of get it. If I ever get a portrait of McDonough or any of the other junkies, I will upload it on the Instagram at Final Mystery, most definitely. So you look and see for yourself. Peace out, everyone. Hey man, live with confidence if you can. If you don't have confidence, contact me, man. Fuck it, might as well uplift you in some way, man. This world needs uplifting as a whole. But take it easy, people.